Hello and welcome to the review. What a win! Hey, what a game! What a game of football! It was amazing. Finals like atmosphere, huge momentum shift. I think the definitely the tide was turning probably midway through that second quarter. I thought Hawthorn just started to get the game on their own terms. And then the finish, obviously. Hawthorn really charging at the start of that last quarter with some really good play and some freakish goals. And then just an arm wrestle, and losing that lead, losing the lead, and then being able to find a way to win and then hang on. It was a great win. I know there'll be people who'll be disappointed with that, and I suppose we have to be realistic in that. Wouldn't we love to be, putting a team like Hawthorn to the sword? But maybe I underestimated it in my preview. But I think definitely, what we were 40 odd points up at one stage. It could have been a big win for us, but it wasn't. And full credit to Hawthorn. Very well organised football team, but for most part, they're resilient and a very exciting future for them based on what I saw in regards to their youngsters. CJ after half time was outstanding across half back. I love the game of Will Day, coming into the team for the Hawks. Thought he was really good. Granger Barras, particularly after half time, he had his pants pulled down early in the game, particularly in that first quarter. But, his ability to intercept, and he's strong and he's tough and he uses the ball really well. Conor Mcdonald was good, really busy and lively up forward. Warple, I think, starting to find some form as well after a quiet year last year. And Josh Ward, first year player, only playing his third game. He was one of the ones that got them going, particularly in that third quarter. And Dylan Moore, I thought he was dangerous all game. Dylan Moore, his ability to push up the ground, get dangerous, and then find his way inside forward 50. He's a real, he's a very, very good small forward. And I thought, for the most part, Jordan Boyd, who was making his debut for us, just had his hands full. Playing on someone like Dylan Moore would be a great learning experience for Jordan Boyd. But I think that just goes to show, obviously, we missed Gov. Obviously Oscar McDonald was out as well. And I think the big one, though, was losing Adam Sard. And I think, not having him and that ability to be able to play on someone like, Dylan Moore, but also attack, meters gained, penetration. I think the defence held up really well. In the end, a pretty low scoring game, but I thought the defence, under the circumstances, were quite good. But I think the play we really missed was Adam Sard. But Jordan Boyd, hopefully we'll learn from the experience and we'll get another opportunity sometime this year. But I loved the game. I really did. And I really liked our performance. Had a little bit of everything. And I didn't, as much as Hawthorn came at us, it wasn't, and we're used to huge momentum swings in the past. And this was a big swing because they came from 40 odd points down to hit the lead in that last quarter. But it was a gradual shift. And I think we had plenty of looks in that time. We still won the overall inside 50, 64-46. We dominated out of the middle. I think it was 18-7. But the areas, obviously, that they got on top of were, in that third quarter, stoppages around the ground, which is an area that we really need to work on. And then their ability to transition from half back. And that was mostly due to the fact that I didn't think we were able to adapt. Hawthorn were very smart in what they were able to do. There's no doubt we caught them off guard early in the game with our contested marking. Harry, Charlie and Jack were marking everything forward of centre. But I don't think, as much as that's almost like a perfect brand of football where you're dominating out of the centre, getting the ball deep, which we were able to do after Hawthorn scored that first goal. And then for our big forwards to be able to clunk just about everything that came their way. That just looked unbelievable. But we all knew that brand probably wasn't going to be sustained. And that brand, I think, is something which at times can be maybe not easy to coach against, because you can't make guys like Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow, you can't make them any smaller. But what you can do is work around that, force Carlton to do the same thing, but get numbers back and support, and read the cues. And I thought Hawthorn did that exceptionally well after half time. And unfortunately, we didn't adapt. We didn't lower the eyes. I think we had 7 odd marks inside forward 50, most of those contested in the first quarter, and we only ended up having 11 marks inside 50 for the game, which was really disappointing. I can't remember many hit-up leads. Against the Bulldogs last week, we found space and we found hit-up leads. We found it multiple times. This week, we fell into the trap of kicking long to contested situations, and it didn't look great after half-time, and we were caught off guard. Our smalls couldn't get in the right position to be able to crumb. We were outmarked after half-time. We were unable to get the ball to the ground to put the likes of Owies and young Durden into play. So from that point of view, it's something that we're going to have to look at. And like people use the term, we need to find a plan B. Well, yeah, we need to find a different way and a different avenue to goal. It can't just all be about contested marks. But for the most part, I think we dug deep. That for me was the most pleasing thing. And we see it so much, and this is why it's so important when you do have momentum, which we did have that first quarter and a bit. When you do have that momentum, we did it against the Bulldogs as well, that you score. You impact the scoreboard. You make the opposition pay. You kick straight. You're clinical, and that's what we were. We were clinical, and that to me was really pleasing. And we built up that lead. And how many times do we see? And this has happened to us in the past as well, where a team is really far behind on the scoreboard, and they gradually get back into the game, and then they hit the lead in the last quarter. But then the opposition is led for most of the day. And what did we were in front for 93 minutes of this game, 93 minutes. And then the team that's been in front for most of the day somehow steadies. And it's generally the better team that's able to do that. And I said in the preview, I believe we're a better team. And I think we showed that. I think we played better football. But that's not to say that Hawthorn in time, okay, won't be a better football team than us. But I just think we're a little bit more advanced than what they are right here, right now. And that showed, I think, late in the game for us to be able to respond like we did. I thought that was a goal. Great bit of roving work by Durden that was touched. That would have put us in front. But then immediately after, Jack kicked that great goal, and what a handball from Zach Fisher. And I know players like Zach Fisher are going to cop it a little bit for not having a huge impact, but when you're playing that position, that starvation high half forward, you just need to make sort of big impacts at really important times, and that's what Fisher was able to do without that handball into space, and it was an absolute beauty. We would never have scored that goal. So I love that. And then I think it's still a work in progress, that sort of icing the clock. And I like when we do it, but I think we're still learning that craft, sort of keeping control of the ball late in games and denying the opposition the ball. And we tried it against the Western Bulldogs last week to not great effect. This week, I think, for the most part, we did it pretty well. And in the end, it was a great victory. And the players, looked excited. They generally looked, I don't know if it was a sense of relief, but it was a great win. And I'm not in the position right here, right now to be disappointed with that. There's areas that we need to work on, but every club have got areas they need to work on. And our ability to find another avenue other than just contested marks inside our forward 50 is our biggest challenge. I think, moving forward. Because I think for the first time on the weekend, not the first time, but I think the back half looked really well organised. And it stood up without Gov, it stood up without McDonald. And I thought Lewis Young was outstanding in his first game. I'll get to him in a minute, but I thought that was just an outstanding first game by Lewis Young. I didn't think we lost anything without Oscar McDonald playing. And if that's the type of input that Lewis Young is going to have for us moving forward, I think we should be pretty excited. As I said, you miss a player like Adam Sard. You just miss his dynamic ability to break and cut down space, and his meters gained, and he's just an absolute jet. So anyway, what I might do is just run through the players, and I think it was once again a really sort of even sort of team performance. And you don't win games of football like that unless everyone contributes at certain times. And certainly there's players in this team that would like to lift their input, because the reserves I see had another massive win. A really big win over Box Hill. That's 2 in a row, and you look at the best players. You look at Dow is in the best. You look at Motlop, I think he kicked 4. So there's some genuine pressure from underneath, which I think the competition for spots is something which will continue to drive us, forward. Who would have thought? Who would have thought at the start of the season that will we be sitting 3 and zip and 3rd on the AFL ladder? It's a magnificent start to the year. A magnificent start. It really is. Okay, so let's have a look. We'll go through in number order, just a brief chat about each player. I thought Jack Silvani was best on the ground. I know he's only had the 14 disposals, but he's taken 11 marks. And he's kicked 3 goals, 1. I've always been this great believer, if Jack's going to play forward, he needs to impact the scoreboard. I know he does so many good things off the ball. He's a really good hit-up player, really demands the ball on the lead. And he does a lot of grunt work. But at the end of the day, we need him to hit the scoreboard. And 3 goals, 1 was an outstanding contribution. And he's starting to really work on his contested marking. And what we're seeing him do is kick those goals at really important times. And in the past, they're the goals that sort of, I suppose, Jack has missed. Not the one in the goal square in the first quarter. I'm not talking about that one. He shouldn't have, he was never going to miss that. But the one in the second, and then that one in the last quarter was an absolute beauty. I thought he was best on ground. And I know other players had more possessions, but he was the one. He was the constant four-quarter performer for mine. So just another really, really good performance by Jack Silvani. And look, people say, he's the heart and soul of the football club. But I'm big on performance. Just perform each week, give us something, and he's given us plenty so far this season. Lockie O'Brien, I didn't mind his game actually. I obviously played on the wing, 80% time on the ground. He's had the 19 touches, so he's building, and I think his outside game this week was good. His outside game, he seemed to get a lot of handball receives, and I thought he was, like last week, he was a contributor, a bigger contributor, sort of when we needed him late. I thought he was in the play, he was around the action, and I think he's growing. I don't think he's ever going to be perfect, Lockie O'Brien, but right here, right now, he's nailing that position, that wing position. And like I said before, with if you said to me at the start of the year, these are the 3 games that Lockie O'Brien would have put together, I would have been happy with this. He needs to continue to play well, but I think he started the season really solidly. I thought Cherry was a little bit down with his ball use. Maybe he was affected by that week off. Who knows? Didn't think he had the same impact. Only 250 metres gained from his 23 touches. Played a role, played a part. He was in the action late in the game, but I just didn't think it was I suppose a signature performance by Chera, but I suppose a consistent performer across the course of the game. And you're going to have those performances. But he did contribute. I just didn't think it was at the standard he played against the Tigers in round one. There's been a lot of knockers on Zach Williams' game. I liked it. I really did. I know he made some blues. But let's remember we didn't have Adam Sard. And he had to take up that position of Adam Sard. And he's not Adam Sard. He doesn't use the ball as well as Adam Sard. And I suppose it's an area of his game that I've been a little bit disappointed with is his kicking. He hit targets, but he missed a few targets as well. But he's at the 27 touches, and he's had 623 metres gained from the back half. I thought he was good. I didn't think he was great, but I thought he was good. And I think it was a really good step in the right direction for Zach Williams. And I thought he was a lot better late this week than he was against the Western Bulldogs. I just think he was a pretty calming influence in that back half. So I know he's copped some criticism, but I didn't mind his game down back at all. You know, Matthew Kennedy, 30 touches, great early, great. I mean, he was the one I think that got us going. His contested marking, that's such a weapon to have a midfielder that can mark the ball above their head. And his disposal has improved. I mean, he shanked a few, but his disposal, it really has improved. The only area of his game he didn't do this week, which he's done in the first 2 weeks, is hit the scoreboard. But everything else was pretty solid from Matthew Kennedy, just rolling through that midfield, spending some time up forward. Thought it was just another really solid performance. Cripper was another one who early was great. I mean, I left him out of the votes. I left him out of the 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, which we do for the My Blue Heaven MVP. But I go back and look at his stats. He's had 11 tackles. And once again, he's led the club, in another really good win. I'm at the stage where every win we have is better than the previous. That's the way I feel at the moment. But 11 tackles, 31 touches. But his metres gained was down just a little bit. And I know he did a lot of the grunt work. There was just that mistake. I think it was a mistake late where we were going inside forward 50 and I think he went for one too many handballs and overcooked it. And yeah, I think they may have scored on that rebound. It might have been Jack Gunston that got that goal to put him 1 point behind. He just made a few of those Patrick Cripps mistakes. But look, when you're getting the ball 31 times and sort of busting your ring, you'll take a few mistakes. It was another outstanding game, another really good captain's game by Patrick Cripps. I like Mackay's game. I mean, I'm trying to work out whether it was Charlie and Harry and TDK that were the problem inside forward 50. Whether they just got, whether it was instructions just to get it long to them, whether they lost a bit, they were a little bit gassed, they couldn't compete, they were out of position. Because they were on early in the game. But the thing I liked about Harry's game, obviously, was that chase down tackle. He's so engaged at the moment, and then his ability, and this is why I think we're really starting to mature. Like we mentioned Jack before, with being able to kick those clutch goals, something we probably haven't been able to do in the past. But Harry late in the game, obviously that tackle, but then late in that game as well, to be that hit up player coming up to the centre wing and take that really strong contested mark, just to settle the nerves, settle things down again. Such a big presence, and that ability for Harry to be able to do that, not just be sort of plonked inside forward 50 and demand the ball to be on top of your head, work hard, present, give an outlet from half back. And that mark, that sticks in my mind, that really strong mark late in the game. And it's like, as a supporter, you go, oh, thank God for that, Now fucking slow it down, it's just when you're able to take those contested marks late in the game, they're just worth their weight in gold. TDK, look, there's people saying he should be dropped, and the two ruckman's not working, and certainly he's you look at 7 disposals, and I suppose it's a matter of how we want to structure it. It's simple as that. Think. The reason why Harry and Charlie get off the chain early in the game are able to impact the scoreboard. think why they got off the chain last week against the Western Bulldogs is because we have that extra tall in the front half, which is TDK. So he's reminding a big Sav used to do at Geelong. You know, he wasn't getting a lot of it, taking the 1 or 2 marks and then spending a little bit of time in the ruck to relieve the ruckman, but not really having a huge influence on the game, but structurally important, you know, for what we want to do. He will need to, I suppose, I've said it will click for him, and we're hoping it will click for him, because he's certainly not playing well, but he is competing hard. And we know he can do things. But we're not just seeing it at the moment. But structurally, I don't think we're going to change because it's so important for us to have a relief for Pitt and also have, I mean, who's going to play that backup? And then we're going to ask Jack to do it after what Jack's actually doing at the moment? I don't think so. So I think right here, right now, TDK's a really important tool in regards to the way we want to structure up. It's just, you know, we would probably just like to see a little bit more. Sam Walsh, really good game. Second good game in a row. I thought his ball use was a lot better this week. He's still not at his best, and maybe it won't be until, you know, around 7 or 8 that we start to see him really motor along. But 32 touches, you know, it's a big game, a big midfielder's game. You know, spent a lot of time on the ball. He certainly was, you know, running pretty hard at the end of the game. That really good stretch on the Shane Warne grandstand side was really important, where he dived for a mark. So he's just doing all the right things. But that midfield group really needs to tighten up, not out of the centre, but those stoppages around the ground where Hawthorn were able to get on top. They really need to work that out. So we went to, so who are we up to? We had Corey Durden, liked his game. Hey, 11 touches for Corey Durden. He looked lively. He pushes up the ground. He gets busy. Took a couple of really good marks early in the game. I think there's a breakout performance coming for Corey Durden very shortly. I think there's a 3 or 4 goal performance for Corey Durden. I just think he's looking lively. He's looking fit. He's looking engaged. He'll need, you know, that, like all our small forwards, they will need to continue to apply that manic pressure. But I have noticed that the likes of Durden are pushing up the ground. I saw Durden in the back half. I saw him up on the wing. I saw him across half back. So they're really pushing up the ground, a little bit like what Dylan Moore was doing for Hawthorn. So are they getting caught out of position, or is that an instruction to get some numbers back? But he's coming along really nicely. Lockie Plowman, I think Bruce got a couple on him in that third quarter. I think it was the third quarter or second quarter. Did Bruce? I think he played a little bit on wingguard at times. I thought he did some okay things, Lockie Plowman. Is he safe? I don't think he's safe. Was he serviceable? I think he was serviceable. Was it a great game? It was okay. He was part of a back 6 or 7. I think held up pretty well throughout the afternoon. So I thought it was a solid performance by Lockie Plowman. Martin came on late, flew for a mark. Would have been great if he was able to hang on to that. But, yeah, you can't be assessed at all. Weeders, I thought, found a little bit of form. Obviously, those really important marks late. Gunston got 2 or 3 on him. It was an interesting matchup early in the game when we saw Jacob Wiedering go to Jack Gunston. Yeah, really interesting that Plowman didn't go to Gunston, but Wiedering had the job. Gunston wasn't a huge influence for the whole game, but he certainly looked dangerous, and he ended up impacting the scoreboard. But Wiedering's ability to organise that fence and you know, that mark late in the game, I mean, that's what vice captains do. They step up in big moments, and he was able to do that. Newman's had a good start to the season. I just reckon he's been really safe and solid. You know, he's not perfect. Hawthorn were going to kick goals. You know, his man probably got a little bit of the ball. But I just think he's really calming at the moment, Nick Newman. I think he's really calming, particularly his ball use. I found when he first came to the club, he was really lazy and lacked care, particularly with his kicking. But I just find that that he's got some time. He's got some time. And whether our back half, it doesn't appear to be under as much pressure the way we're setting up as it has been in the past, which has enabled him to be a bit more of a calming presence, particularly with the ball in his hand, because we know he's a pretty reliable kick at the football. Fisher's 16 disposals and that big moment late in the game. I saw him at some centre squares, and I keep talking about these periphery players and how important they are and how important they continue to grow, and he's one of those. It wasn't a great performance by Zach Fisher, but he had his moments. He made an impact. Not everyone is going to pick 35 disposals up and kick 4 goals and clunk 3 or 4 contested marks. Okay, that's why you have these superstars. Zach Fisher's not a superstar. He needs to play a role, and I thought he did that quite well. Pitnet, yeah, it was a serviceable game. I think the ruckman sort of pretty much broke even. We actually, in the end, won the hit-outs. I think having a fresh combination of, and I think they certainly missed out Hawthorn without having Ben McAvoy. But having Pitnet and TDK fresh, I think that's a positive as well. And I think, look, Pitnet, I worry about the rucks a little bit. I don't think we've got great ruckmen, but we've got a really good midfield, a really strong and consistent midfield who will potentially or probably make someone like Mark Pitnet and TDK look okay at the moment. Charlie Curnow, I thought he was amazing. He was amazing early. I think I thought Charlie was amazing early. And it's just great to see him back. I mean, 10 disposals he only had, but the way he marked the ball early in that game against a quality opponent, I think he had Granger Barrash early, and his strength and his kicking is really good at the moment as well. And he just stepped up at really important moments. It's a little bit quieter after half time, but you need your big forwards to like any player, any forward need to make an impact. And he certainly did that. It's great to see him, as I said, on top of the ground, running on top of the ground. If you try and look at what that injury was late in the game, didn't look that serious. Lewis Young, outstanding debut. Did everything right. He stitched Mitch Lewis up. I think kicked 1 goal, and his reach. Certainly stuck out for me, just to be out, the ability to get his hands on the ball, with the spoil, and his timing as well. His timing was excellent, and I think there was been question marks on his physicality, but he didn't look out. For me, he did not look out of his depth. Although he's going to come up against bigger opposition and stronger opposition over the course of the years, but I think it was a really good start, a really, really pleasing start by Lewis Young. I mentioned Boyd. It wasn't disappointing. His first game for the football club. He did a couple of things. He was really in the game early on. Made a bad choice by foot. I think he got unluckily got tackled on the wing, where he probably should have forced the ball over the boundary line. I thought Dylan Moore was a real handful, but he was okay. He was okay. It wasn't a great game. He'll probably lose his spot when Sard comes back. Setterfield, similar to O'Brien, building this wing position. I noticed particularly with Setterfield, he seems to be playing that defensive midfield role. He's not a huge metres gain type player, just the 205 metres, but he's doing a lot right at the moment, Will Setterfield, without setting the world on fire. And I think he's just building, and that wing role is so important. It's not, sometimes you're in the game, but a lot of the time you just sort of, you're zoning and you're pushing back to support the back half, and it's not necessarily what you're doing with the ball and what you're doing offensively. It's more importantly what you're doing defensively. And I thought once again it was a step in the right direction for Will Setterfield. Just another good solid small forwards game by Matt Owies. 5 tackles in the front half, 11 disposals. I think he may have been the only player that were able to hit up on the lead. So he finds space. That kick, where he was, I think it was him on the boundary line. you know, late in the game. I think it was in the second quarter, where was it the second quarter where he punt and road pocket and he skewered the ball top of the square. I mean, it was just a great kick. So, yeah, I think he's doing pretty well at the moment, and I'm pretty happy with our two small forwards in Matthew Owes and Corey Durden. And not to forget, you know, we got young Jesse Motlop just sort of waiting in the wings as well. That's a wrap, guys. Probably went a little bit longer than I hoped for. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again shortly for the big preview of the Gold Coast game this weekend.